Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be making a complete battle drills guide covering strategy tips you can share with your guild, as well as all the heroes which are the most recommended for this mode, what team compositions you can be running for the various stages such as the passageways, towers, strongholds, mini bosses, and the boss himself. So we've been through a lot of battle drills because I've been playing since pretty much the global launch, and my guild right now, in terms of strategy, we're trying to follow the good strategy, but communication will always be an issue within your guild. Some people are not going to be attacking the optimal in the optimal ways, and that can cause a little bit of problems. But basically what you want to do when the battlegrounds begins is you want to join all of the 4 towers together, because right now we have a 4-tower layout. I think earlier there was a 2-tower layout, and then it's maybe easier to join the towers, but either way you want to join each other together, because once you're joined, then you can attack anywhere along the map as long as you're connected with your allies. Whatever they're able to attack, you're also able to attack. And then you also share the tower levels. Like for example, we have level 51 here, which gives you level bonuses to do better in the different modes, but also it unlocks team selection in your command center. And this is a really important thing as well, because when you unlock more, you're able to add in new heroes who can then give you those 24 initial stamina and regenerate stamina daily. Okay, so the first part is passageways, which are these ones here that you want to attack 5 times. In the earliest stage of this 4-tower battlegrounds, you want to join the right tower to the bottom tower. So you want to go through here, because this guard and all of these guards en route between bottom and right tower are not too difficult to clear. This one over here, which is a guard which will also give you a capture bonus of a buff, this is more difficult to take down. If we tell by the contribution, it took 10 people attacking, and some of them dealing a pretty high amount of damage, compared to these guards which sometimes can even be cleared by 2 people, or the same person in 2 attacks. So these ones are much easier to clear on this right side, and you want to join this right tower to the bottom, and same way top should be joined to the left. That's the most important thing. Then when that is done, then now all of the right and bottom people can attack together at whichever mode they want, and then you can begin targeting this difficult guard over here, and then the left and top can also attack this, and then you all connected like we are here. Now we're completely connected, and I can attack anywhere on the map that anyone else in my guild can attack. And now is when we're just going to be using our strongholds team for the guard. So in this guard or strongholds, so for example this one right in front of our base here, this guard, or these strongholds here, the best overall team is going to be the team I'm going to show you right now, which is Parissa, Carolina, Aridin, Iron, and then a final hero. It can be, I don't know, I haven't tried multiple things, but for right now I'm using Damien because I didn't want to die. I don't know if this team can die. For example, if you're running 5 damage dealers, sometimes people even recommend like running Diurnal here. If you have a highly ascended Diurnal, he can be a really good option for battle drills. But basically these 4 we have fielded along with Diurnal. These are your top 5 damage dealing, AoE damage dealing heroes in the game right now, and these are the ones you want to bring into the strongholds and these guards that we're fighting. I'm going for Damien because he gives us the factional synergy, he gives us haste buff, which also will increase our damage, and also he gives us the healing in case we are close to dying. We have the Crescent Spell. If you're running this magical damage team comp, you want to run Crescent Spell. Parissa and Carolina deal the most damage from this team, massive damage. I don't know if Parissa can be run at lower levels of Ascension, because usually on people's accounts, if you have Arden and Damien on your wish list, you won't have a very highly ascended Parissa. So then you might not be able to do that well in this fight. But look at this already. 20 seconds in, we've already taken down 15% of this tower. And this is one of the major towers. Look at the damage, 5 billion damage already. Or 5, there's million or, yeah, there's 5 billion damage, I think, yeah. Okay, so this team is the top team. It's an Iron nuke team, adding in even more nuking with the Parissa. We'll see the damage chart at the end. I'm going to make sure to check that, but Parissa and Carolina deal almost the same amount of damage. I think Parissa even out-damages Carolina in some instances. So just with this team, 2 attacks of it, and each attack takes 12 stamina. We'll almost take down this stronghold by ourselves, which is pretty crazy. You would be able to do this for your guild, but of course, is because we have really highly invested and highly ascended all of these heroes. But it just goes to show you that the Iron Nuke team not only is really strong in PvP, but in battle drills as well, it is crazy. So already 63% of the life of the Stronghold taken down, 23 billion damage. And the Parissa and Carolina tie, Arden is the third next, and Damien just healed. I don't know even if we need the healing. Like, I was thinking, should I try to run Viperion or something instead of Damien? But then I remember from my testing in the past, Viperion doesn't even do as much damage as Arden. So even if it's another 2 billion damage, probably the haste from Damien probably would increase our damage by more. Like just powering up our current damage dealers. So now in this next attack, we're not going to be able to get off as much damage because there are only 4 heroes left. 2 of them are low on life as well, so during the fight they might go down. And because this team is all about AoE damage, the more number of enemies there are, the more damage you will contribute. So you want to bring this team out when you're attacking a full health 5 enemy team. If there were only now after this attack we probably will clear it, but let's say we left it with like times 10 stronghold guards or something, then you just want to bring your minimum requirement of heroes, which is going to be 3, and just try to and so that you waste as little stamina as possible, because each time we attack here you're going to use 12 stamina on each hero you bring in, and if you could have cleared it with 3 heroes, then you would have wasted stamina by bringing in 5. I think we're not, it's going to be really close, but I think we're barely not going to be able to clear it, so we'll probably leave this and let someone else finish it off who doesn't have as strong heroes. And we also need to finish it off with 3 heroes ideally, because that's the other thing, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the passageways, which is what we will talk about now. Whoa, we got a nuke in the end which almost finished it off. This is so unfortunate. There's like almost nothing left on the boss, so yeah, someone who just has like really weak heroes left, or even sometimes you leave this to be finished off by someone who doesn't have really highly ascended heroes on their account. Same way with this one. This one is left kind of because Ofter did 16 billion damage and he probably was running a similar team. Everyone runs a team like this, but see, look, Florabelle is not that good for damage. Parissa did the same amount of damage as Carolina. That's how we got 24 billion damage here. Okay, now for the passageways. Passageways as well, we just cleared it, nice. And now we're going to take a buff. So for the, okay, we'll talk about passageways and we'll talk about the buffs, because the buffs more apply to mini bosses and bosses. Okay, now in the passageways, you can again, so your minimum heroes you need to play to clear a stage or try to attack it is 3. So if it is possible for you to clear a stage with 3 heroes, you always want to do it. And in passages, definitely you can kill it with 3 heroes. I'm going to talk about some common lineups a lot of people use. We'll look through the hero list, but before we talk about that, you want to also clear the passage within 30 seconds. So basically with 60 seconds left on the clock or more, you want to have killed it. And if you don't kill it, you can refresh, you can reset and retry the floor or exit out. It doesn't cost any stamina by exiting out or refresh or retry. So you want to retry until you get it in that 30-second clear. Because then if you clear in 30 seconds, you get the maximum stamina refunded to you, which is going to be half of the stamina required to enter it. So in the base of Passage Brawl, in the first phase, it's going to be 12 stamina to enter per hero. You're going to get half of that 6 stamina refunded if you can clear within 30 seconds. So then with your 24 stamina you have, you can actually do 3 attacks and still be left with 6 stamina in the end. You're not able to do the 4th attack because it costs you 12 stamina to enter, but basically with 18 stamina or 6 stamina each time, you're able to clear 3 rounds of this Passage Brawl. Now for the common lineups, you're going to want to have, sometimes it can be 1 tank, 2 damage dealers, it can be 1 healer, 2 damage dealers. Usually that's the way you want to go, because if you're only having 1 damage dealer, they just have to hit really hard and be able to clear everything. It's also possible, like OD, Merrily, sometimes on their own is enough, and just have support for them, like Smokey, Rowan type thing. So I'm going to take a look at the different heroes that we can lock in here. I'm going to talk about what I would recommend for these passages. So Iron, Carolina, Parissa, of course, they nuke hard. Arden even, they nuke hard, they hit hard, and in these floors there are 5 enemies at a time, so its AoE damage is good. You would be able to use them, and they would do really well in passages, clearing it quickly. But because Iron, Arden, Carolina are so strong in the stronghold and tower like we saw, you kind of want to save them for the towers and strongholds and just use them to dominate there. But Definitely they are an option for passages. They are good. Thorin can be good because he's just a tank, and then he can have his damage reflect to also help try to clear the minions a bit faster. Other than that, Florabelle probably would be good to clear minions relatively fast. Merrily can be good. But Merrily, Corrin, again, and Odie, these are going to be part of your boss killer teams, so we will talk about them later for the boss teams, but they can also be good for these floors. Like, in the early stages of battle drills, you just want to connect to everyone, and sometimes you'll have to attack passages, maybe even with your boss heroes, so you can use, like, yeah. So Merrily, Corrin, Rowan, energy generation, Viperian is also good, even Cecia. Sylvina, not the best, because she can sometimes die, and Temesia is pretty good, tanks out, and also Reese. Reese is a pretty good hero that you can run. Even in the towers, he doesn't do so badly, because he deals AoE damage, he hits pretty hard. Lucius you can use, Leica. It's basically, usually what I do is 3 of a kind faction, you get the factional bonus, but even if you don't have that, like without the factional bonus, you can still sometimes clear. But basically hard hitting damage dealers, 1 tank or 1 support or healer, and 2 damage dealers is what I would recommend. And just try to clear it within 30 seconds, and if not, quit out and try again. But if you can't, it's fine. Even if you clear within, I think, 45 seconds, you get 4 stamina returned to you, or basically for 1/3 of the stamina returned to you if it's a 12 attack. Because later on, I say 1/3 because later on in phase 2, I think it costs 18 stamina to attempt the passage, and then you get 9 back if you get the 30-second clear. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the passageways. We've talked about the tower best team. Now we're going to talk about the mini bosses and the bosses, because that's all that is left to talk about. So for the buffs, the first buff, I've thought about it, and I mean, you can choose between 1 buff which will give you 4 attack speed every auto attack, basic normal attack you deal, and stacking up to 200. 200 attack speed is going to give you 200% bonus attack speed, which means your heroes are going to be attacking 3 times their normal speed, which is insane. Like, if you're talking about Odie, Merrily, Corrin, they all deal damage based on their normal attacks. And so by powering them up in the attack speed so much throughout the course of the fight, I think that is how you maximize the damage for bosses. The other buff option in that tile was increase your energy by 80 every 3 seconds. So 80 energy is not a big deal because you need 1000 energy to cast an ultimate, so I was like, 80 energy doesn't seem so appealing. It increases ultimate damage by 40%, that is a good buff, but again, like, if you're talking about, for the most part, your damage comes from your skills, from your normal attacks, not really from your ultimates. But I think that would be a buff more centered towards AoE damage, tower clearing teams. But for mini bosses and bosses, which eventually that is going to be the end of your battle drills, a lot of the time is just going to be trying to kill the mini bosses and bosses. Clearing the passageways and the towers is pretty quick in comparison. So it's better to invest for that, and for that I think that stacking attack speed is better. So here it's a similar type of thing. Moment of Glory is the ultimate casting, cycling energy type ability. This one is much better because whenever you cast an ultimate, you increase attack by 25%, crit by 30, and it can stack. That is very tempting, honestly. But Divine Punishment is just too powerful, especially synergizing with the stacking attack speed. Allies' normal attacks deal additional physical damage equal to 5% of the target's max HP, and if they're a boss, of course, it will not be 5%, but it would be 80 capped out at 80% of your own attack. But 80% of your own attack, each basic attack you deal, so your basic attacks, instead of doing 100%, they're doing 180% attack. That's a lot. So I go for Divine Punishment always. And now we're done with all of that. So now the next step is you want to, you need to connect to the bosses. So now for my position, because my position in battle drills, we've been assigned like different roles. Because I have like a higher power, higher ascension of my heroes, I have 2 boss teams and 1 tower team. And so we showed the tower team. I don't do the passages, other people try to clear the passages, but I was talking to the guild like people on Discord that we all should probably have passage teams in the beginning, because then we can easily connect to people. But either way, we do end up connecting by the first day. But anyway, that's not really much of the point. Now, the heroes we have remaining here, this is going to be my first team for killing bosses. There are 2 teams which I'm going to build for killing bosses. One is a magical damage oriented team, Odie and Cassidy. Cassidy decreases the magical defense of the enemy target when she is at her Supreme Plus. She stacks your normal attacks on all of your heroes with bonus magical damage. OD is one of the key best magical damage deals. Rainier to increase the damage the boss receives. Coco to protect you, and shielding. Shielding is very important for the final boss because we'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, shielding and is good everywhere. Protection, shielding to keep you alive for longer in any either Shadow OD, Shadow Brutus, or the boss himself. And then Smokey for attack buff, haste buff, and healing. Although Smokey is good for Shadow OD and good for the final boss, but Smokey, in my opinion, is pretty bad for Shadow Brutus because Shadow Brutus keeps stunning you and pulling you in, and he keeps interrupting Smokey like every 10 seconds. So Smokey is not a great option for Shadow Brutus. There would probably be a better option, but you can still run him there. It's fine. So that's the magical damage team comp. Now for the physical damage team comp, it's going to be Corin, Merrily, of course, Kruger, and Lucius. Lucius, you need the shielding, and it comes down to the boss's skills, which we'll talk about at the end. But Lucius also gives you the damage and haste buff, so even for Shadow Brutus, Shadow OD, he's a really good option. So Lucius, Corin, Merrily, and Kruger for the defensive debuff to increase the damage of physical damage dealers. And then finally, the final team option is Vala, because more physical damage, and Vala destroys bosses when they're below 50% health. So with that physical team, you ideally want to wait until the boss is below 50% health, either Shadow Brutus, Shadow OD, or the final boss, and attack with it. But you can attack with it even when the boss is over 50% health, and that's normally what I do, and it deals a lot of damage. Now, if you don't have Vala, you can replace with different options. Other heroes who I'm not going to lock in for this battle drills, but who are all good for bosses, are Thorin, increase the damage the boss receives. Shakir is good for buffing your front line with the attack and damage reduction buff. Even Floribel could be used, but I don't think she's the best option. Tamisa can be good, decreases at Supreme Plus, it minorly decreases the physical defense of the boss and also deals damage and tanks out the front really well. Even Cisa can be used really early on, but those are pretty much it. Now Elsa, now the only hero which I don't have built up who is going to be, well, Diurnal we talked about in the towers and passages, that Diurnal is one of the best, but really for the towers you want to use him, but I don't have him built up, so I'm not using that. But Elsa is a really good option, the best option to be running in the magic damage team comp. Instead of Smokey, it's good to run Elsa there, and then she does well in Shadow Brutus, Shadow OD, because your Smokey gets interrupted a lot in Shadow Brutus. Elsa just gets off a lot of damage. I don't have Elsa built up to Mythic Plus. Once I get her there, I need one more copy. Then I will run her in the team instead of Smokey. But for right now, I'm running Smokey because it was either Smokey, Shakir, or Thorin, and I thought Smokey would be overall the best for all the bosses that we will have to attack. But Elsa is a great option. She is the best in slot hero for the magic damage team comp because she is a magic damage dealer herself. She's a mage. And yeah. Okay, so that is pretty much it for the mini bosses. In terms of the mini bosses, you can run either team in either. It's just like save for below 50% health with your Vala team ideally. If you're not running Vala, run it whenever. And if you're only running one overall maximum damage team, then it would be OD, Corin, Merrily, and then probably something like Rainier and Kruger or something. But usually it's better to distribute two different teams because a lot of your time is going to be invested in killing the boss, and the first clear is going to be, you just have to kill the mini bosses and the boss. Like, you have to clear this whole map one time and you get your 500 diamonds. After that, it's just for ranking, which doesn't actually give you any rewards. So you're gonna have a lot of time to attack the boss, and you can reslot heroes. Like, for example, we've used our tower team. Let's say I'm like, okay, we're just gonna go for full boss. Now you can swap it out for full boss teams, and you can then run even sometimes 3 boss teams, but I would just recommend 2. Keep 1 tower team and 2 boss teams, or 1 pathing type heroes and then 2 boss teams. But you could reslot for a second boss team if, for example, you also had passage heroes in the first 5 you locked in. And yeah, so you want to run 2 teams, 1 magic damage team, 1 physical damage team. If you're running Cassidy, she needs to be Mythic Plus, and she should be plus 10. Exclusive equipment is best, but she can even kind of work at plus 2, but she gets a massive boost at plus 10. But even if you're not running like Cassidy in this team comp, for example, you can pick from the heroes like we mentioned, like Thorin, Rainier, OD. Even Thorin, Rainier, OD, Smokey, Coco. That's going to be a very solid team. You have massive debuffs to increase the damage the boss receives. You have people to protect the Smokey or the OD, and then OD can just get off his damage freely. So there's a lot of different options. Okay, now for the final boss, the thing which makes him, we can't see his full skill description. until he's unlocked. But he has the Astral Strike deals high damage to all enemies and knocks them down upon receiving the skill damage. So if you have a shield which takes the damage for you, it doesn't count as you receiving the damage and you don't get knocked down. So that is why you want to have one shielder, dedicated shielder on both of your teams. So we have Coco at Mythic Plus, so she needs Mythic Plus for the shielding to be preventing these knockdowns in one team, and the other team you have Lucius, and that's why Lucius is one of the key options for boss teams and battle drills in the new season as well, because his seasonal skill gives you damage and haste buff, but the shielding is really the important thing to prevent the knockdown of the boss, because otherwise the boss keeps periodically knocking you down and you get knocked down I think for like 4 seconds, and it reduces your damage a lot. And so if you can shield and protect your team and they can just stack up their attack speed, like if you have that attack speed buff, then you can get off massive damage. So that is pretty much it for the Giant Golem. And overall, I think that's pretty much it for what I had to cover for the battle drills. At the end of the day, all of these are just for like trying to rank high in the battle drills. Just to get your base rewards, you just have to complete enough quests to get to level 5 reputation treasure, which is the maximum. Once you reach guild level 5, I think, you unlock it. And then I also go for Trill Seeker treasure because you can get guild coins here, and yeah, that can help for Celestial Hypogenes, although you get very few of them. Yeah, so really, all in all, you just have to clear the boss once for maximum rewards of 500 diamonds, and then do your quest to get level 5 reputation treasure. Everything on top of that is just for, like, I guess for fun, trying to get a high ranking. But we have finished rank 1 in both round 1 and round 2, and now our strategy keeps trying to improve, and probably will finish with an even more bigger lead this time, hopefully. But Battle Drills is kind of like an even mode where all of your heroes are set to the same level. However, the Ascension tiers are not, and the exclusive equipment levels are not either. So that's why people who have like a plus 15 or even plus 10 exclusive equipment, OD, Merrily, Corrin only needs plus 8, but then they will be doing better than someone who, for example, doesn't have a Mythic plus Corrin. Then it will not even be usable really in a battle comp. So for these teams, for the boss teams we mentioned with Corrin and Merrily, they need to be Mythic Plus if you want to run them. Otherwise, you're better off running something like Cecia, Florabelle, some consistent damage dealers that don't depend on high Ascension level to also get off decent damage. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was helpful. Let me know what your tips are for the battle drills and what your guild is trying to do, what strategies you have, and also what team comps you're using for all these different areas, like for the passageways, the tower strongholds, and even the bosses. But thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe because I upload daily AFK journey content with guides and updates to help your progress and also keep you up to date with all the latest information. But thank you for watching. I will hopefully see you guys in the next video, and until then, everyone, peace out for now.